For years, you've probably heard people tell you about how important the core is, how important it is to help with back pain, to help with improvement in sport, strength, and even balance. But do you know what the core is, how it works, or even more importantly, how to train it? Stay with us in this video and we'll tell you the real truth about how to effectively train your core to get the real results you're looking for. If you're like most people, you'll probably think of the core as predominantly the muscles that run from the ribs down to the pelvis, the abdominals. Unfortunately, this is only about 10% of the story. Much like an iceberg, 90% of the core is often hidden and more often than not untrained. Even for those who view the core as a whole midsection that runs right away from the front around the back, you're still only 50% there. The core, as we see it, is far more part of a global system within the body. Take the abdominals, for example, that connect the rib cage to the pelvis and act to bring them 2 points closer together. Now they're part of a much bigger global system that we call the anterior core that starts from the jawline and connects the head to the rib cage, works down again through the abdominals as mentioned and connects the rib to the pelvis, but it also connects the femurs to the pelvis. Now yes, they work in flexion and work to bring the whole system closer together, but it also works in anti-extension and it works as a bracing mechanism to help us when we're lifting larger weight. Now this is the same for all of our core systems in the body, like the lateral core, posterior core, and the rotational system. Stay with us on this video and we'll take you through 5 exercises and show you exactly how you can train each of them systems. Exercise number 1 is a sliding dish, and we use this to strengthen the core in flexion. So what you want to do, you want to start lying flat on the floor, legs bent and feet flat. And if you've got them, we can use sliders. That'll just help slide them toes in when we're ready. What we're going to do is we'll start with the arms out straight. And again, whenever we're doing anything, we want to be nice and engaged. You want them arms engaged before you start. Then we're going to start off at the top of the system. So we're going to lift that using the jawline to lift the head off the floor. Slowly push the heels of the hands out and raise the ribs off the floor whilst drawing that belly button down towards the spine and engaging a little bit of anterior pelvic tilt. When we've got that activation there, what we're looking now to do is just raise the heels a little bit off the floor, and we're going to slowly slide them sliders as close into the butt as we can. Eventually, when they get so far, the toes will just start to rise off the floor, and this will activate and put us into that strong dish hold, making sure we're strengthening flexion as much as we can. Once we've done this, we can progress, but get comfortable with this first, and then move on from there to strengthen the core in flexion. Exercise number 2 is the active bridge, and we use this to strengthen the posterior core. That's everything running down from the back of the shoulders, down the back through the hips, into the glutes, hamstrings and calves. With this one we start in exactly the same position, flat on the floor, legs bent and the feet flat on the floor. What we first want to do is engage the feet, so using the heel, little toe and big toe to engage and push into the floor, and then raise up through the chest and the hips, so we create this straight line from shoulders through to knees. In particular, we'll find men have got quite weak adductors, so what we're trying to do is bring the knees in a little bit closer, and that just switches on the adductors as well. And then we want to engage the shoulders down into the hips, so take the shoulder blades as if you're trying to tuck them into the back pockets. Make sure that bridge stays high in the glutes, and then you want to try and imagine, without the feet moving, you want to grip the floor as if you're trying to pull the floor towards you, but don't let it go anywhere. Once we've done that, we create that active position that engages the calves, hamstrings, glutes, lower back and up into the shoulders. So we strengthen that whole posterior core in that bridge position. That's exercise number 2. Exercise number 3 is the box plank, and we use this to help people understand and start to engage the bracing mechanism within the core. First and foremost, we want to get the nice box position with the heels directly under the shoulders, heels of the hands under the shoulders, and the knees directly under the hips. The gaps between the heel of the hand and the knee should be the same roughly between the armpit and the hips. So with the neutral spine, we can check and use a stick just to make sure that neutral spine is being achieved. And we've got a little gap in the lumbar spine, a gap in the cervical spine. And what we're looking for when we do this is that slow raise of the knees off the floor. As we do that, as you start to come up slowly, you'll start to feel everything brace to the core. So trying to raise up through there and just get to that neutral position. And again, we can push them shoulders a little bit So we keep that neutral spine. When we hold that position, we start to engage everything that connects the hips to the pelvis. We also prevent anti-extension or flexion through the core, and we're teaching the body to remain in a neutral position. This is a starting point we use to help people engage and understand the importance of bracing and how to achieve it. So that's the box plank. Exercise number 4 is to strengthen the lateral core and then into the anterior sling. So we start off with the elbow under the shoulder, and we want that body nice and straight. What we're looking to do initially is we're going to try and raise the body up. But with the lateral core, it's not just here we're looking to work. We're trying to work the shoulder girdle as well. So we want to push off with that right elbow and raise the thighs up as high as we can. So it's an engaged position. The glutes are squeezed and we are engaged and straight to this. So consistently trying to raise up through the femurs, and that gets that whole system working as one. But make sure it's not just a hanging in the position. Now, to engage us a little bit further, what we can look to do is to lift the underside knee up towards the hip and the foot off the floor. Hold there, hips up, and this starts to bring in the adductor on the opposite leg. So we start with the adductor on one leg and the lateral core on the other, as well as the shoulder. And that brings in the anterior sling and helps connect the whole system. We can do that again a little bit more, make that a little bit more difficult by coming up fully extended on the arm. And again, we come up into this fully extended position whereby we're using the arm straight, trying to bridge up through the shoulder girdle, push up through the hips and the thighs, and again we can bring this right leg up and we start to work the adductors of the left leg and the lateral core of the right side. That's exercise 4, working the lateral core and the anterior sling. Exercise number 5 is the PALLOF press or PALLOF hold. This exercise helps to prevent rotation of the rib cage on the pelvis and is known as an anti-rotation exercise. So we start in this position with the hands against the ribs, and we use a band or a cable just to create that resistance. Today we'll be in the split stance, but we can be half kneeling, kneeling, or in a square stance. To do it, we prefer the stance today. What you're going to do is start with the hands there, and with tension on the band, just straighten them out in front of you. And as that band comes further away from you, it'll just start to increase the rotation through, and you prevent that from happening. And we just hold that, and that's the PALLOF hold. The next stage, we also can use the PALLOF press, which means we're bringing the arms in and straight out, and that's just changing the resistance on the core and on that rotation as you move. Either of them work to help anti-rotation. That's our 5 exercises for the core that use it as a whole global system. If you have any questions, any comments, or you'd like to find out more, just drop us a line and we'll be happy to help.